Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man sara ala sabilihi ila yawmiddin, amma ba'd. So we continue discussing what we started last week regarding the topic that is referred to as Tariq al-Fiqh. That's the title is the development of fiqh or the evolution of fiqh. So we started and we mentioned regarding concerning that with this, that of those who have written on this particular topic, that they have divided concerning that the evolution of fiqh, that are put into different different times. They have we discussed concerning the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Then we discussed concerning al-fiqh as to how it relates or developed in the time of the Sahaba, which is labeled as the Kibar al-Sahaba from the Al-Khulafa al-Rashid, Rashidun, and also the Kibar al-Sahaba. Then we went in a time period that follows, which is the Sigar al-Sahaba and the Kibar al-Tabi'in. And then, so we discussed that during that time, that fiqh start now to be centered into a particular area and region. We'll find that certain places become more known regarding their approach regarding al-fiqh. So with this, we have also different developments. We have madhahib start to develop also more amongst the ulama. So we be continuing concerning from where we left, which is concerning that the time we'll find that the madaris, those different regions, start to have their own ulama from the time of the Kibar al-Tabi'in, and then the Sigar al-Tabi'in and the madhahib being established. So as we had mentioned, that regarding concerning that the approaches that start to become more prevalent during those times, that we have one, the madrasa concerning al-Madina, al-Hijaz, that's referred to concerning madrasat al-Hadith, where a lot of the attention was given to hadith regarding matter that relates to al-fiqh. Then also we have the second madrasa, with the madrasa of al-Rahi, wal-Qiyas, those who are affiliate that they more indulge or more efforts was placed regarding matters concerning al-Rahi, regarding concerning al-Rahi, giving opinions on their on matters. So what that also mentioned, and so with that, from that time we discussed concerning that from the Kibar al-Tabi'in, the different madaris that exist, and we just mentioned some of the regions and also some of the more prevalent amongst the ulama who led those who were the teachers in those regions, and also people of fatwa. So they mentioned regarding al-Hijaz, which the ulama that are referred to as al-Fuqaha al-Sab'a. So in al-Hijaz, Hijaz meaning Medina and Mecca, that of the more prevalent of the ulama in that region, that they refer to as al-Fuqaha al-Sab'a. Most of all of them regarding that their method was the method of al-Hadith. So a lot of attention was given regarding hadith, and also using this as a way of regarding studying hadith and also authenticating hadith, and also they paid a lot of emphasis regarding the aqwal of the Sahaba. So of al-Medina, of al-Fuqaha al-Sab'a, that amongst them that we mentioned that Sa'id ibn Musayyib being of one who was prevalent, or of those who were renowned of that madhab. Also Urwa ibn Zubair, both of them died a year or died in the 90s al-Hijri. Then also we have Abu Bakr ibn Abdul Rahman al-Makhzumi, also amongst those of the Fuqaha Sabha. Ubaidullah ibn Abdullah ibn Utbah, also Kharija ibn Zayd, also we have Qasim ibn Muhammad, and also Sulaiman ibn Yasar. So those are referred to as al-Fuqaha al-Sabha, and that were all in the region of Medina. Then also we'll find that others who were there regarding of the ulama of that region. We have others that are mentioned regarding Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar ibn Khattab. We have Mujahid. We also have Aban ibn Uthman. We have Ikrama Mawla ibn Abbas. Also we have Ata ibn Abi Rabah and Nafi Mawla ibn Umar, and others amongst the ulama who was known to be of the way inclined towards al-Hadith. Then the next madrasa that also was established was in Iraq. So the next madrasa that was established in Iraq, and of those who headed that madrasa, of the more prominent amongst the ulama that headed or was a part of that madrasa, we have the likes of Alqama ibn Qais al-Nakha'i. We have al-Masruq ibn Ajdad, Hamadani. Also we have Aswad ibn Yazid al-Nakha'i. We have Shurey ibn al-Harith, and we have Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. We have Amr ibn Sharahil al-Sha'bi, and others. Also Hasan al-Basri. Some of those ulama, Muhammad ibn Sirin, So those are the ulama, and they also mention Hamad ibn Abi Sulaiman, al-Kufi. So these were the more renowned of the ulama regarding the matters of Al Iraq, that we mentioned that a lot of emphasis regarding Iraq was made regarding they start to indulge in matters concerning Al-Rahi. Then also find in Sham that madrasa also was established, and of the head of that madrasa, and the more prevalent and more renowned of the ulama of the madrasa of Ali Sham, that they mention Abu Idris Khawlani. They also mention Raja ibn Uwayya or Hawaya, and also they mention Mahkul ibn Abi Muslim al-Hudhali. So that's concerning Mahkul ibn Abi Muslim al-Hudhali. And also you have the likes of Muhammad ibn Shihab al-Zuhri and others who were a part of that madrasa of Ali Sham. So those are concerning those madaris that started to be established, and the ulama that it has certain ulama were known to be the one that carried that madrasa and were the ones who give fatwa and taught in those madaris. Then also that they mentioned regarding, so those are the three, or those places were of the places known regarding tadris, regarding concerning fiqh. And then after the next stage regarding concerning the next stage will be concerning the asr at-tadween and a'immatul mujtahidun. So or a'immatul mujtahideen to the next time period will be concerning the time regarding that came after the Kibar al-Tabi'in, that the period regarding of the period concerning the time where now fiqh start now to be more to be now organized in a structured way regarding things now start to be recorded, and also that the a'immatul mujtahidun that are now concerned a'immatul arba and others, that they start then to come from this time period. So regarding concern that time period also, that the more as we mentioned that fiqh that of concern the fiqh of fiqh and also al-hadith was still concerning prevalent in that time period. So the main sources still regarding concerning the Quran, the Sunnah being the main source of Islam during that time. So during that time now start to have the development concerning that certain madhahib now start to be established, and still they continue on until today. So during that time we'll find that of those madaris regarding concerning that start now to be developed, that they mentioned that of those madhahib that mentioned that came out of this, that we have different madhahib. So the ulama, they mentioned initially that there were many madhahib that existed then in those early days. Then some lived on or continued on, and others that did not. So some they kind of somewhat remain from that time up until today, and others that did not remain. So of those one that remain from those madhahib that were established and developed then and still continue on today, we have the madhab of Abu Hanifa, and we discuss more regarding Abu Hanifa. Also we have the madhab of Imam Malik, we have the madhab of Abu Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi, and also the madrasa or the madhab of Ahmad ibn Hanbal al-Shaybani. So these are the four that the madhab or these madhahib that they remain from that time period up until today. Other madhahib that existed then that were there, that we just mentioned some of those. So of the other ones who existed then but did not continue in the same form as the others were regarding concern, they were fully intact. Regarding they had the books, they had the ulama who came after and adopted those madhab and supported those madhab and written on those madhahib that so these ones didn't per se remain like those. Of those that remain, the ulama put those madhahib into like two categories. So regarding concerning the madhahib that start to be developed, that they put them into two categories. The madhab, also the madhahib al-baqiya as-sunniyya. So those madhahib al-baqiya as-sunniyya, and those are a'immat al-arba. And also then they mentioned the other category of those madhahib that existed then and still that remain. They mentioned concerning al-madhahib mundathara. So the madhahib al-mundathara were concerning mundathara, they existed but did not continue, that did not per se survived. So they existed for a while, but then eventually they were lost. So or didn't continue intact. So regarding concern of those madhahib that existed then, they have concerned the madhab of Abdullah ibn Shubrama. So of those madhahib of the imma during that time that have a madhab that were mustaqil, that Abdullah ibn Shubrama, and he died 114 al-Hijri. He died 1 14 al-Hijri. His madhab was more prevalent in the area concerning Yemen and also Kufa. Second amongst those madhahib that they mentioned, and you have the likes concerning the madhab of Muhammad ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Abi Layla. So you have the likes of Muhammad ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Abi Layla, who died 148. Also his madhab was in Kufa. So also of those madhahib that existed then, but did not per se continued on. And you had others of those madhahib that were there. So you have other madhahib that were there, but did not per se continue on. So they mentioned like a list of those madhahib. Those who mentioned like a list of those madhahib that that they mentioned is Hakim Rahuya, that also have a madhab, and others that so others who had madhahib but did not per se continue. So those one that did not lived on, but these four from amongst those ones that they lived on. And also you have another madhab with the madhab of al-Zahiri. So you have the madhab of the Zahiriya also that emerged, that madhab, but it still lived on, still present today, the madhab of Zahiriya, but less per se followed. So the madhab of the Zahiriya still also existed. So the madhab of those ones that started then and also still continue to some degree today, but less or very few followers, like of the madhab, they say the madhab of al-Zahiriya. So you find the madaris that we have concerned which is al-Zahiriya, that they were like in opposite to that of the Al-Rahi. So they're somewhat the opposite of Al-Rahi, where they kind of somewhat they deny concerning the use of al-Qiyas. So they deny concerning matters regarding Qiyas and anything that relates to al-Qiyas. So of that madhab of the Zahiriya, the person said to be the founder of that madhab is Abu Sulaiman Dawood ibn Khalaf al-Zahiri. So the founder of that madhab is Dawood ibn Khalaf al-Zahiri, that died 270 al-Hijri. He died 270 al-Hijri. So this madhab is somewhat that the emphasis is placed regarding al-Kitab wa Sunnah, but also it becomes renowned regarding that it rejects inkar al-Rahi wal-Qiyas completely, what matters concerning al-Istihsan wal-Masali al-Mursala, as these are all concerning offshoots of they see as Qiyas. So the Zahiriya, that they are against concerning matters regarding al-Qiyas, regarding al-Fiqh, and their thing is to stick primarily to the Quran, to the Sunnah, and avoid these matters regarding al-Qiyas and al-Rahi. So I mentioned that Dawood al-Zahiri is the one who was the initial founder of the madhab. Then the madhab and they mentioned that Dawood al-Zahiri, that initially he was Shafi. So Dawood al-Zahiri initially was more inclined toward the madhab of Imam Shafi rahimahullah, or that way inclined, and then he kind of somewhat he left and kind of somewhat established concerning looking at text by way of his Zahir. And I mentioned when he used to be of those who follow Imam al-Shafi rahimahullah, but also he muta'assib towards al-Shafi. So when he left that way of the Shafi'iyah, also he becomes somewhat went to the next extreme regarding of being of those who deny complete regarding al-Rahi wal-Qiyas and the likes. So that's concerning of that madhab. Then the time that it had followers that were in concerning al-Baghdad and other places. So madhab and also in Andalus. So that madhab was somewhat present in those areas concerning parts of Baghdad. Also al-Andalus, which we call today as Spain. Then it mentioned that after a while that the person somewhat will revive. The madhab was not many followers. That the madhab was then somewhat revived by the way of one of the ulama of the Zahiriya, who is known as Ibn Hazm. So Ibn Hazm rahimahullah, that Ali ibn Ahmed al-Zahiri Ibn Hazm, that he became the one who kind of somewhat to revive that madhab. So he kind of somewhat, and Ibn Hazm rahimahullah, that he died for the mid 4th century. So that around 506, so 456, he died around 456. So Ibn Hazm rahimahullah is the one who kind of somewhat aligned to that madhab, and also kind of somewhat start to write books regarding that madhab of al-Zahiriya, and the books of the Zahiriya, they still exist today. So Ibn Hazm rahimahullah have written books concerning ahkam, or concerning usul al-fiqh, and also have many books regarding al-ahkam, and even books in hadith. So that's concerning, so the madhab of the Zahiriya is of those ones who still exist, but not with much following of contemporary time. Very few of the ulama or those of ilm who are known to be, who are kind of somewhat attach themselves to this madhab. So those who attach themselves of recent, of the more renowned, of those who aligned themselves to the madhab of the Zahiriyah, that they mention Abu Turab al-Zahiri, and also that they mentioned so Abu Turab wa Ibn Aqil. So those two were now the more prominent of the people who aligned themselves to the madhab of the Zahiriyah. Ibn Aqil, and also second, Abu Turab, both died over the past maybe 30 or so years. So that's concerning that those madhahib, so the madhahib that became out of the path regarding studying of madhahib became those three: the path of the Zahiriyah, the path of al-Hadith, and also the path of al-Rahi. So that became the three main ways of approach regarding studying concerning matters relating to al-fiqh. Then, as they mentioned regarding concerning these madhahib start to be established and start to be spread, then the next step or the next stage regarding these madhahib and their development and evolution is regarding concerning that looking concerning what were the founders of each of those madhahib. So the four that remain is looking at those madhahib that that are still found and look concerning the imam of that madhab, and also mainly is usul, and how that madhab actually spread and why it remained until today. So inshallah ta'ala we'll discuss concerning in brief regarding each of those madhahib al-arba, regarding some brief information about the madhahib. Then we'll go into discuss concerning matter that relates to al-madhab and tamathub, the person taking on a madhab, and regarding studying concerning al-fiqh of today or after a certain time became of two paths. So we have the path concerning the path that will consider the ulama of usul wal fuqaha, and then also where it is studying a text in according to one of those madhahib al-arba, and also a second path or method of studying of fiqh is regarding concerning the way they mentioned concerning kutub hadith al-ahkam. So also another method of studying of fiqh that came about is the method, the approach by using books that gather a hadith, and those books would be studied by extracting concerning the ahkam taken from those books. So they mentioned prevalent books that are there regarding al-fiqh on a more advanced level. The book concerning al-Muhallal Ibn Hazm, and Ibn Hazm rahimahullah, he had many books. So he had about 4 or so books regarding of fiqh. Of those one that's still with us today is al-Muhalla. So Muhalla of Ibn Hazm rahimahullah is of those book of the fiqh of the Zahiriyah that most of the ulama that they caution regarding the talib al-ilm who is new and at a certain level, that at a beginner's level or intermediate level, that not to look into the book of Ibn Hazm, because sometimes the words can be somewhat very harsh against others of the ulama. So the warn and caution against the person studying the book of Ibn Hazm, as his words at times can be very harsh towards other of the ulama when he disagree with them. Also the book of Ibn Hazm, that Ibn Hazm rahimahullah, of those of the ulama, that when he mentioned the khilaf between the ulama, he does not mention the Hanabila, as he didn't per se of those that did not see Ahmad ibn Hanbal as a faqih. They saw him as a muhaddith and that's it. But as for being a faqih, being from the ulama of fiqh, that Ibn Hazm per se doesn't mention his aqwal that much. Also you find others who also take this approach, and of them the famous book of Bidayat al-Mujtahid by Ibn Rushd. So Ibn Rushd rahimahullah, of those books don't mention much the aqwal of the Hanabila or Ahmad ibn Hanbal, based upon that they see Ahmad ibn Hanbal as being a muhaddith, not a faqih. So they do not per se mention much of his aqwal in their books. So those are the books concerning that. You have many books that have been written. If we have time, that we'll skip some of those things. But we'll say that you find two pathways regarding studying of fiqh. The path of the people of the fuqaha, which is studying one of the madhahib, and we'll discuss more in detail. And another path of studying of fiqh is regarding using books of ahadith al-ahkam. So find books of ahadith al-ahkam that will be concerning examples of those books will be concerning the book Bulugh al-Maram by Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Also another book will be Al-Muharrar fi Ahadith al-Ahkam by Ibn Adi al-Hadi. Also other books, and you have many books. So you have all those books, they come as small and also they come in large sizes. So books of Ahadith al-Ahkam, that there are many that are there. So both so the person, so it all depends on the teacher and the madrasa the person follow, then depending on which of those paths that you follow. As for next discussing concerning madhahib, so regarding concerning as those madhahib start to be developed, then we'll start discussing concerning the 4 that remain with Ahlul Sunnah. So the first of those is the madhab of al-Hanafi, which is that madhab that's referred to as the madhab of the Hanafi, based upon referring back to the teacher or the founder of that madhab. So the imam of that madhab, that is Abu Hanifa, so the first of the madhahib al-fiqhiyya that existed from then and still carried on to, up until today and still followed. The first of those is the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa alayhi rahmatullah. So his name is Nu'man ibn Thabit al-Taymi al-Kufi. Nu'man ibn Thabit al-Taymi al-Kufi. And then he was born in Iraq. So he was born. So he studied in the area concerning of Iraq amongst the ulama of that region, and he is the first of the madhahib that still remain today. So he was uridat in Kufa. So he was born in Kufa around the 80th year of the Hijrah. So the 80th year of the Hijrah that he was born. They discussed concerning Abu Hanifa rahimahullah that did he actually meet any of the Sahaba. So they mentioned that he has seen over 7 of the Sahaba. It is mentioned that he has seen over 7 of the Sahaba, but they mentioned that لكن لم يثبت له رواية عنهم. But there's nothing been authenticated that he actually narrated anything from any of them. So no narration from him from any of the Sahaba. Then but he's considered to be from amongst the tabi'in, some of those who consider him to be from amongst the tabi'in. Then I mentioned regarding concerning that he studied from the kibar ulama of his time, of those concerned that the ulama of the tabi'in, that and amongst the more renowned of the ulama that he studied from, that they mentioned amongst them Hakam ibn Utayba, Hakam ibn Utayba, of those Hamad ibn Abi Sulaiman, Amir al-Shabi. Also they mentioned Ata ibn Rabah and others, and also others, Ikrama Mawla ibn Abbas, that he studied from, of those of the renown of the ulama before his during that time. So those of his of some of the ones that he studied with, just some. Also that they mentioned regarding concern of those ones that were more influential upon Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, that they mentioned too. So amongst those ulama that he studied with, the ones who have more influential upon him as his mentors, that they mentioned Ata ibn Abi Rabah, and also second Hamad ibn Abi Sulaiman. So they mentioned second Hamad ibn Abi Sulaiman. And as we mentioned, so that's concerning of those ones regarding al-fiqh. So regarding concerning matters relating to al-fiqh. As for matters regarding concerning al-i'tiqad, regarding Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, that as we mentioned, that of his teachers is Hamad ibn Abi Sulaiman, and he was known concerned to be of those of the close to be of those who had the idea concerning al-irja. So of those of the idea or the i'tiqad of irja concerning matters regarding al-iman. So the matters of iman, that Hamad ibn Sulaiman was of the early ones who had this idea, and also being one of the more influential amongst his teacher of the teacher Abu Hanifa. So also Abu Hanifa rahimahullah also adopted that view, which is al-irja, al-murjia, of those the idea of al-irja is said to be that of deviancy. So of those things of dalal, then al-irja fall into those deviant sect amongst the Muslim. So that's concerning that matter. We're not saying, so for the sake of that we're not saying that passing a blanket judgment on anyone. We're not passing a blanket judgment on anyone, but al-irja wal-murja is of the deviant idea regarding matters concerning al-i'tiqad. Then I mentioned regarding concern that of the matter regarding concern Abu Hanifa rahimahullah regarding his journey and his life, that I mentioned also Abu Hanifa rahimahullah that he faced his own mihna or fitna, that during his time that he faced his own like trials, and of those things regarding that because of his knowledge and how he was held and seen by others, that it was brought to the attention concerning those who were those in authority. So those in authority, that it mentioned concerning that Ibn Hubayra, Fizari, Ibn Hubayra al-Fizari, who was then the wali of that area, that he wanted Abu Hanifa rahimahullah to be the qadi. So he wanted Abu Hanifa rahimahullah to be one of the qudat, one of the judges, and Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he refused. So he refused the position of being a judge, and based upon this, that the Amir, that the governor, that he ordered him to be lashed 100 times. So 100 lashes, and I mentioned that for each day, for 10 days, he was giving 10 lashes. But still Abu Hanifa rahimahullah that insisted that he did not want this position. So eventually kind of somewhat gave up, but he was somewhat lashed because of his refusal for accepting the role of being a judge. Then I mentioned also that this also continued that in time of the Abi Abbas, that concerned Ahdul Bani Abbas, that also Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, also regarding concerning that Abu Jafar al-Mansur, that also that he was in al-Baghdad, that he wanted Abu Hanifa also to assume the role of being a qadi. And again he refused. And this time that he was, they say habs, he was somewhat incarcerated, or he was somewhat locked up because of his refusal to accept the position of being a judge. And that he remained, they mentioned that he died fil habs, that Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he died when he was still somewhat imprisoned. So he died when he's somewhat still in prison in the month of Sha'r Rajab in the Sana 150 al-Hijri. So he died here 150 al-Hijri at the age of 70. So that's concerning Abu Hanifa rahimahullah in brief. Also regarding Abu Hanifa, that of his students, renown of his students, that also impact on his madhab still surviving, or the survival of the madhab of his renowned students that they mention, Qadi Abu Yusuf. So Qadi Abu Yusuf, that is always referred to as one of the Sahib Abu Hanifa, and his name is Yaqub ibn Ibrahim ibn Habib al-Ansari, and is he referred to as Qadi Abu Yusuf. So Qadi Abu Yusuf rahimahullah, that of the more renowned of the students of Abu Hanifa, and also kibar of the students of Abu Hanifa, that they mentioned that he became the one who was given the responsibility of being, or the role of being the judges of the judges. He was the Rais of the Qudat, of the judges. So he was the president or the Rais of the Qudat. So he's in charge of the judges during the Dawla of Abbasiyya. And based upon this, that he would appoint people to be judges who were from that way, from the students of Abu Hanifa. So he would appoint the judges because he was the chief judge, and the appointment of judges would be based upon people who were of that madhab of the madhab of Abu Hanifa, or the students of Abu Hanifa. So that's concerning. So that madhab spread because he would appoint people to be judges who were people who were of that madhab, or of that way, incline of that madrasa. The second of the main renowned students of Abu Hanifa, the second is Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. Muhammad ibn al-Hassan al-Shaybani. So he died 189, and Qadi Yusuf, Abu Yusuf, he died 183 al-Hijri. So the second, that al-Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, and he was the one concerning that, so Abu Yusuf, regarding the spread by way of people being appointed to act as judge and giving fatwa. Then as for Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, he was the one who started then to record and write the books of and the views of Abu Hanifa. So he started initially regarding that he studied Imam Malik. This is Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. So he studied Imam Malik rahimahullah, and also one of those who narrate al-Muwatta. So one of the concerning al-Rawi of Muwatta that we have today is that of Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. That we find that some of the Hanafi ulama, that they have explained al-Muwatta because of the riwayat of Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. So also that they mention, so he wrote concerning books regarding collecting concerning the views of Abu Hanifa and the view of that madhab. And those books are called Zahir al-Riwaya, which is 6 books that became of the foundation of the books of the Ahnaf. So the book became the fundamental foundation of the books of the Hanaf. So he wrote 6 books. They were referred to as Zahir al-Riwaya. Then next in line is by way of Zufr ibn Zuhail. Zufr ibn Zuhail, also of the Imam of the Ahnaf. But as for Zufr, he was known concerned that he became that Ghalabat alayhi al-Rahi wal-Qiyas. He became the one that he spent a lot of efforts regarding al-Rahi wal-Qiyas. So somewhat he was known for this and became renowned regarding indulging in al-Rahi wal-Qiyas. And you have others. So amongst the others concerned Muhammad ibn Ziyad al-Luhlawi al-Kufi, also amongst the students of Abu Hanifa, where he said Abu Hanifa also studied with Abu Yusuf, and also Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. So those are the more renowned, and these are the one that the madhab of Ahnaf kind of somewhat revolves around them. The madhab of Abu Hanifa what I call Hanafiya, it revolves around those, especially the first three, Abu Hanifa, and then his two main students, Abu Yusuf, and also Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. As for the Ahnaf, like all concerned the spread of the spread of the method of Abu Hanifa or the Hanafiya or Ahnaf, that the reason because of the spread of this method is that during the time of the Abbasiyya, Dawlat al-Abbasiyya, it was considered to be the method of the state. It was the method of the state. So when a state can somewhat take on a method, then can somewhat it will spread and became the method was taught. So it became the state method. So it survived due to that. And also when the Uthmaniyya were in charge of the Muslim, that they were in charge, that also the method that they adopt as being the state method regarding fiqh was the method of Abu Hanifa. So it kind of somewhat spread. So all those regions that we still have on today, that was governed over by the Ottoman Empire, then those places took on the method of the Ahnaf. As for the usul of the Ahnaf, so Ibn Ahnaf concerned the usul of Imam Ahmed, of Imam Abu Hanifa, of his usul, Al-Quran, then a Sunnah, and Nabawiyya, but the Sunnah with them also, that they were very mutashaddid in acceptance of the Sunnah. They were very, they had the very strict rules regarding accepting of the Sunnah, based upon a time of in Kufa, Iraq, there was a lot of fitna, a lot of fabrication of hadith. So they put in place very strict rules regarding acceptance of hadith, and also they have al-ijma of the Sahaba. Also, if the Sahaba they have any difference, then you choose what is closest. Then also you have al-qiyas. So you have al-qiyas and different things that relates to al-qiyas, al-istihsan, wal-urf, wal-ada. So those are things they use as their primary source regarding their method, regarding how to extract rules. They use it as their primary sources. Then they also have books like with other madhahib for their survival, that they have many books. So of the books that are prominent regarding the Ahnaf, you have concerning Al-Mukhtasar Al-Tahawi. So Abu Ja'far Al-Tahawi also have books. Also you have Mukhtasar Al-Quduri by Ahmed Al-Quduri. Also you have Khans Al-Daqa'iq and other books that are considered to be the Mukhtasarat, and those books are explained. Those books are explained and taught still to this. The book of Al-Quduri, Khans, Daqa'iq, and other books. There are still books that are not taught in the madaris of the Ahnaf and the masajid of amongst the mashayikh of the Ahnaf. The next of those madhahib that concern the method of Abu Hanifa. The next of those madhahib is the method which came second according to the historical order. The next is concerning the Malikiyya. And the founder of that method is Imam, they said Imam Dar Ijra fi Zamani, who is Imam Abu Abdullah Malik ibn Anas Al-Asbahi Al-Madani. So we just can somewhat cut some of the names short. So we have Abu Abdullah Malik ibn Anas Al-Asbahi Al-Madani. And Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, that of those of Ali Medina. So he was born in Medina, raised in Medina, and died in Medina. So Imam Malik rahimahullah, that his life was Hijaz. He was born, concerned that they mentioned that he was born in Medina, and around the year 93 al-Hijri, Imam Malik rahimahullah. And then he mentioned of his more renowned, prominent of his more shuyukh of Imam Malik rahimahullah. We have the life concerning Nafi' Mawla ibn Umar. We have Sa'id ibn Muqbari. So you have Sa'id ibn Muqbari. Also we have Amir ibn Abdullah ibn Zubair. We have Muhammad ibn Munkadir. We have Rabi' al-Rahi. We have Abdullah ibn Dinar. We have Salih ibn Kaysan. And these are so those are the ulama of Al-Medina that Imam Malik rahimahullah, that he studied and took his knowledge from. That Imam Malik rahimahullah, that of those things that they mentioned, that Imam Malik rahimahullah, that as a young man kind of somewhat excelled regarding concerning al-ilm. And they mentioned regarding that, it is mentioned that he stated concerning ma aftaytu, that Imam Malik rahimahullah, that he mentioned ma aftaytu hatta shahida li sab'ina min ahli al-ilm أني أهلا ما أني أهل لذلك. So Imam Malik rahimahullah, he mentioned regarding himself and the system that he had in place, he mentioned that ما أفتيته, I didn't per se start giving fatwa until that it was I was giving some form of credential or some like approval by over 70 of the people of ilm that I was deserving to teach and to give fatwa. So he he got the approval of over 70 of the ulama of his time for them to give approval regarding him teaching. So it shows regarding that to know that this matter regarding of ilm, that those ulama of the past, that they took this matter very serious. And regarding giving fatwa, that requires concerning a person that he put himself before the people of ilm to see, am I qualified, am I ready to give fatwa? So him consulting with others. Then I mentioned concerning Imam Malik rahimahullah that of those concerned that at the age of, as a young age, that from the age of bidwa wa ashar, but in his teens, early teens, that he started to seek of ilm. So from his early teens, he started to seek of knowledge. And also Imam Malik rahimahullah, that by the age, they mentioned concerned that by in his early 20s, he started to give fatwa and tadris. So he was like qualified to give fatwa and also tadris, to teach people when he was in his early 20s. So that's concerning that his level of knowledge, but also this was with the approval of others, of those who were his seniors and his teachers. Also Imam Malik rahimahullah, that of the ulama of hadith. So Imam Malik rahimahullah, of the ulama of hadith, and upon the madhab concerned that his way of approach regarding Ahl hadith of Hijaz, that was still predominant. Regarding that, emphasis was placed regarding the sunnah and athar of the salaf al-salih from the sahaba and the kibar at-tabi'in. So Malik rahimahullah, he followed that path. So, and also of those of narration of hadith. So it is mentioned regarding the concern the most concerned as al-silsila al-dhahabiyya, of those silsila, that those renowned, more authentic chains, they mention Malik and Nafi' and Ibn Umar. So Malik and Nafi' and Ibn Umar, of they mention al-silsila al-dhahabiyya, of those golden isnad. That's unquestioned. Also Malik rahimahullah, that and somewhat stand out where also that he has certain adab regarding concern that how he function regarding his majalis and around ilm. And that concern for any talib and alim that must have a system regarding how he function. So he takes on certain type of rules or a certain type of method regarding how he as a person function. So alim and a talib al-ilm is being concerned with tulab al-ilm, that they need to have a system regarding how I as a person will function and structure regarding myself and how the things that I'm involved in and things that I'm not involved in. Then I mentioned that Imam Malik rahimahullah, in his lesson, he would take ghusl. He also wear decent, his best clothing. He would put on perfume. He'll dress tidy, making so. And also when he sit in a very upright manner. And he said this all because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that he wanted to show ijlal, want to show respect to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So he would put these things in place. With Imam Malik rahimahullah, that Imam, just to mention that Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah himself did not per se wrote a book regarding fiqh. So as for Imam Malik rahimahullah, of those that it is mentioned, that Imam Malik rahimahullah mentioned that it is stated that Imam Shafi rahimahullah, who was a student of Imam Malik, he said regarding Malik wa Ibn Uyayna qarinan, that both Imam Malik and Ibn Uyayna, that they are contemporaries. Lawla Malik wa Ibn Uyayna, if it was not for Malik and Ibn Uyayna, لذهب علم Hijaz, that if it was not for Imam Malik and also Ibn Uyayna, the knowledge of Medina, it would have disappeared. So these are the one that he saw as the one who kept the ilm of Medina, of the people of Hijaz together. Imam Malik rahimahullah, regarding concerning writing and documenting of works, that it is mentioned that, of the books that of his more renowned works is regarding the book Al-Muwatta. So his book Al-Muwatta, of those books that we still have until today, was a book in hadith, but also hadith, fiqh al-hadith. So that's the book of where the book it consists concerning matters that relates to a hadith regarding ahkam, also regarding aqwal of the sahaba and their fatawa, and also aqwal of kibar at-tabi'in, and also the ijtihadat of Imam Malik. So Imam Malik has somewhat in compiling that book that all these things, hadith al-nabawiyah, aqwal of sahaba, وكبار التابعين, and regarding the fatwa, and also the Amal al-Medina, and also matter that relates. So is also his views on certain matters. Certain also give his views, ijtihad, on matters. And the book also in the form of fiqhiyah, the book that is written in a way of fiqh. And that book is considered to be a very important book for a talib al-ilm to study. So a very important book for a talib al-ilm to study, that book of Muwatta, and also is translated into English. They mentioned regarding concerning this book of Muwatta, when it was written by Imam Malik rahimahullah, that the Khalifa al-Abbasiyah, that was Abu Jafir al-Mansur, that he approached Imam Malik rahimahullah and wanted to make that book to be the book that was taught amongst the people. He wanted the book to be the book that would to be taught amongst the people. So that would be the standard that each person, the people have to study. And Imam Malik rahimahullah, he refused. So he didn't per se agree to the idea concerned that the people, that they will be bound to study this book and to act upon this book. He did not agree with this idea. Based upon the mention to know that the ulama from the Sahaba and the ulama before him, that itafarraqu, that they went to different regions. So each acknowledged that maybe there's things that he doesn't possess that they had. So he didn't see that his book captured all the knowledge of the ulama, but what he knew, he recorded, but also did not want his book to be the one, the standard that every the Muslim, that they were binded to this book. So again, it shows concerning a class of Imam Malik, where the ulama of the past, it wasn't about per se getting attention and following and position and status. So that's concerning Imam Malik rahimahullah. And Imam Malik rahimahullah also went through his own fitna. Imam Malik also rahimahullah, he went through his own fitna, where also that due to his fatwa and certain position, that also he was punished by the state. Also he was punished by the state. So again, another of the ulama, and just as a matter to be mindful concerning a person being an alim, being incarcerated, it doesn't mean the person is upon the haqq or the state or is upon batil. It all go back to looking to the person represent. So to see what that person actually represent, to decide whether the person is upon the right or the opposite. Or whether some people, the true alim is the one who's in jail. That's not the case in every circumstance. So that's not the case in every circumstance, that the true alim is the one who's in jail, and the one who are out are the ones who are the whatever they refer to them as. So that's not the case per se. Imam Malik rahimahullah, then he died concerning the year 179 al-Hijri, and he was died in Medina, and he was buried in al-Baqiyah. He died in Medina and buried in Baqiyah. So moving on concerning the books of the Malikiyah, became the book of Muqtasar al-Khalil, Khalil ibn Sulaiman, that and also the books concerning Ibn Abi Zayd al-Khirawani. Also his books become prevalent become Muqtasarat. Of those books I explain the book of Muwatta. You have the books of Ibn Abdul Barr that have explained al-Muwatta. The next of those of the A'immah is Imam al-Shafi rahimahullah. So Imam al-Shafi rahimahullah, that as for being the founder of that madhab, so the third of the madhab of Ahlul Sunnah that have reached us today. So Imam Shafi rahimahullah, that is Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Idris ibn Abbas Shafi'i al-Hashimi al-Qurashi. So that's concerning Muhammad ibn Idris ibn Abbas ibn al-Shafi' al-Hashimi al-Qurashi. And Imam Shafi, he was born concerning that in Gaza. He was born in Al-Gaza, which today are part of Palestine. So mata abuhu wa huwa saghir, and his father died when he was a youngster. And Imam Shafi rahimahullah, that he was born the year that Imam Abu Hanifa died, so which is 150 al-Hijri. So he was born 150 al-Hijri, 150 al-Hijri, and that year that was the year that Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah died. So Imam Shafi rahimahullah, that also his father died when he was a young boy, and then his mother kind of somewhat took full responsibility over him, and she took him to Mecca when he's only at the age of 2. So his mom brought him to Mecca when at the age of 2. Then he read the Quran and the likes of Mujahid ibn Jubr, Mujahid, also that Imam Shafi rahimahullah, that had memorized the Quran at the age of 7. So by the age of 7 he had memorized the Quran, and also he memorized the book of Muwatta, the Muwatta of Imam Malik. Also memorized the book of Muwatta of Imam al-Malik by the age of 10. So by the age of 10 he had memorized al-Muwatta after the Quran. then mentioned that that he was given the role, or he started to sit regarding, or was giving permission to teach and to give fatwa at the age of 15. So by the age of 15, or some mention 18, by the age of 18, in his late teens, he was being giving fatwa and was allowed to teach and given permission for him to teach. Of his students, that Imam Shafi rahimahullah, that he mentioned that Imam Shafi rahimahullah, that he spent time in the desert. So he grew up concerned that in his early days, also he spent time in the desert. And by this they say that Imam Shafi regarding concerning his lugha is also that Imam Shafi rahimahullah concerning his language is also high-powered. As they say, but also Imam Shafi rahimahullah regarding language, also of those, and shi'r, poetry, also is a master in that field. He have taken knowledge concerning the kibar of the ulama of his time, and amongst them that they mentioned that Sufyan ibn Uyayna, Fudail ibn Iyad, and also the people that Imam Shafi rahimahullah that had studied with. Also Imam Shafi rahimahullah that he traveled. So regarding that Imam Shafi rahimahullah that he went to Al-Madinah and he take from Imam Malik Al-Muwatta. Also he went to travel to Al-Yemen. Also he went to Iraq. Also he went to Baghdad, and he sat with the likes of Waqi ibn Jarrah wa Ismail ibn Ulayya, and also he went back to Al-Mecca. So Imam Shafi rahimahullah, he traveled many places. Imam Shafi rahimahullah, it is mentioned regarding concern that in Iraq, where he settled for a while, that he wrote the book concerning, of the book that he wrote concerning, the book that is called Al-Risala. So of those books that he wrote, the book that is called Al-Risala. So he had few books, and amongst those books that he wrote was Al-Risala. And that Risala is called Al-Risala Al-Qadima. So initially he wrote Al-Risala, starting with the book of Risala, with a book that containing that Qawaid fil Istinbat, that he referred to as being one of the first book that have reached regarding Usul al-Fiqh. So the Qawaid regarding Istinbat and how to understand the Quran, the Sunnah. So giving some type of guidelines and principle regarding how a person go about knowing what is said to be dalil, evidence, and also how to apply and understand that evidence correctly regarding ahkam sharia. So each person that study fiqh must have qawahid, usul, principle that they follow regarding how to understand the text, what is used as a evidence, and how to understand the evidence correctly. If the person doesn't have those things, the person, Allah mustan, then you fall into al-fawda, you fall into confusion. So Imam Shafi rahimahullah, that has mentioned that he wrote the book Ar-Risala. Then initially, then he traveled to Al-Misr. Then he went to Al-Misr, where then also he wrote the book Al-Risala. Imam Shafi rahimahullah, when you have a statement he mentioned that we just mentioned, he mentioned that Imam Shafi said, وَدِدْتُ أَنَّ النَّاسِ تَعَلَّمُوا هَذَا عِلْمٍ, that I love for the people to study this knowledge. I love for the people to study this knowledge, this ilm. وَلَا يُنْسِبْ إِلَيَّ شَيْءٍ مِنْهُ أَبَدًا, but not for the person to attach anything to this, to attach any of this to me. So not for the people to attach anything of this knowledge back to me. So he shows regarding that type of tawada, that type of level of humility from the likes of Imam Al-Shafi rahimahullah. Country. So he showed that that's the way that Talibul Ilm should have that mindset. Not everything he wants it to come back to him. Also that he mentioned that he have written the book Ar-Risala and other books that he have wrote. And the book Ar-Risala was by one of the ulama of his time, which is Abdul Rahman ibn Mahdi, that he asked Imam Shafi rahimahullah to write a book regarding the principle how to understand the text. So he wrote the book Ar-Risala. He have many students of the usul of Imam Shafi rahimahullah, that amongst his students we have Ahmad ibn Hanbal and others who studied with him. Also regarding concerning Imam Shafi rahimahullah, regarding his matter concerning that with Imam Malik rahimahullah, of those things that he distinguished himself regarding from the madhahib al-ukhra, is that he all concerned as an evidence Amal al-Medina, regarding concerning action of the people of Medina, he holds this as a proof, which most of the ulama doesn't perceive as an independent proof. Imam Shafi rahimahullah, that of his usul al-Quran wa sunnah wal ijma wal aqwal al-sahaba wal qiyas, So in في الحالة so you can somewhat also follow that line regarding those main sources being used as dalil. The method of Imam Shafi rahimahullah, that still it's spread in Iraq and also today, that it is spread in amongst the Muslims. So it's still one of the method of Imam Shafi that's still spread amongst the Muslims. You might find that even books, you might find that are written, that you'll find that like a debate, conflict between the method of the Shafi'iyya and the refutation between the Shafi'i and the Ahnaf. So you find a lot of books that are written that is primarily regarding refutation and the view that between the Ahnaf and the Shafi'iyya, as they kind of somewhat at the both kind of somewhat at their own conflicts later between the Atba. The next of those madhahib, the method of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, who is the founder, Abu Abdullah Ahmad ibn Hanbal ibn Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal. Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal al-Shaybani rahimahullah ta'ala. And they mention that no, it refers to the laqab concerning Imam Ahl-Sunnah fi zamani. So it refers to as Imam Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah fi zamani, during his time. That he was born in Baghdad, where he grew up there, and also initially that he died in Baghdad. So Imam Ahmad grew in Baghdad, grew up in that region, and also eventually died there, even though he traveled a lot. Ahmad rahimahullah mentioned that grew up in Baghdad, and they mentioned that in a year he grew up in Baghdad, then also that eventually his father died also when he was the age of 3. When he was the age of 3, that his father died, and his mom also took responsibility to look after her son. Ahmad rahimahullah, that he died eventually here 241 al-Hijri. So he died 241 al-Hijri. So that's concerning the time that he died, rahimahullah, at the age of 77. At the age of 77. So Ahmad rahimahullah, of those that had many students and also renowned teachers, as he traveled different places. He traveled to Medina al-Mecca, Hijaz. He traveled to Yemen, Kufa, Basra, Sham. So Ahmad ibn Hanbal kind of somewhat, he traveled around and had many teachers. Amongst them, Yahya ibn Ma'in, Ishaq ibn Rahuya, Al-Shafi'i, Abdul Rahman al-Mahdi, Ali ibn Medina, and the likes, who are considered the cream of the crop of the ulama of hadith. So the cream of the crop of the ulama of hadith amongst his teacher during that time. Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah also go to his own trials regarding concerning matter regarding khalq al-Quran. So regarding concern of those fitna during that time, matter regarding khalq al-Quran, where the state kind of somewhat tried to force the ulama and the people that they have to accept the Quran is created, which is kalimatul kufr. So regarding concern the Quran is created, this is kalimatul kufr. So the state kind of somewhat tried to force the people on this. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, that he refused. So because he was in prison, he was beaten, and the likes, and it occurred until he was, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave his freedom. So the method of Ahmad rahimahullah is still lived on today. That it is captured regarding concern which is mentioned regarding that books that are called concerning al-Masail Ahmad. So you have these Suwalat wal Masail of Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So the works of Ahmad ibn Hanbal. He wrote a book, several books, many books are enough of them. Al-Musnad, also a book concerning Fadal al-Sahaba, Kitab al-Aqidah, and other books. Rad ala Zandiqa or Zanadiqa. So Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, that have authored many books, but did not author a book in fiqh. But other authored book in hadith and other related topics. Aywa.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على السلام حي على السلام حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam rasulullah wa ba'd. So in continuing, inshallah ta'ala, we'll try to now kind of somewhat complete what remain. So I'll mention that ending concerning Ahmad ibn Hanbal and his madhab, that like all the madhahib, that each of their books regarding that those books are said to be muqtasarat, that and also second books that shuru al-muqtasarat, and also you have mutawwalat, and also books that goes into detail. So you find for each of the madhahib al-arba that you find that there are books that would be just the muqtasarat or mutun that just give the qawl of the madhab without and then you have books that will explain those books, and some of those books go into details of discussing concerning the difference between the different madhahib, that is referred to as al-fiqh al-muqarin, comparative fiqh. So that's concerning each madhab of their works. So we're not going to somewhat go into our next matter, that in trying to cover what we have here, which is concerned that discuss concerning that after the mazahib that they last for a while, then around in the 6th century onwards, al-Hijri, 6th century onwards, then the Muslim kind of somewhat fell in a state concerning that a period concerning that al-jumud wa taqlid wa ta'assub mathabiyya, where the Muslim kind of somewhat they start to became very rigid in following a madhab. So the person, so that rigidness in following a madhab, it became now what became prevalent amongst many of the Muslims. So of asbab that leads to the Muslim, that jumud wa ta'assub al-mathabiyya, where the people become very rigid toward sticking to a particular madhab, that they mention very many reasons. Of those reasons, that you have al-ghulu fi ta'zim al-a'imma. So people who went overboard regarding that their praise of the a'imma. So having they're going over the top in praise of the a'imma, and also with this, that time that they will discredit others. So in praising your imam, at times it means that you would discredit other, and that is something. So you find those things that it occurs to the extent of overpraising the imam, where whatever he says is taken and not questioned and acted upon. So that's concerned with the person that go over the top regarding these a'imma, that the person saw their word as something like being like nas, where at times it will be given precedent over that of the Quran and the Sunnah. Then of the reason we'll find into that ulama they've somewhat fell into this stagnation regarding the madhahib and concerning al-fiqh. So we said that jumud, we come to the stagnation of fiqh, and ta'assub, this blind following of a madhab or partisanship towards a madhab, that of those things that aided this stagnation, that you find that many books that were written concerning tahlif al-fiqh, like in muqtasarat. So these muqtasarat, that kind of somewhat khali min al-dalil. So people that kind of somewhat they study these books or take onto these books that are considered to be mutun, muqtasar, brief text, but they are khali from any dalil. So it is giving instructions, but without any form of dalil. Also concerned of those things regarding concerning that كثرة استدلال بأحاديث الضعيف الموضوعة والواهية. We also find these books of the fiqh that concerning that not checking the evidence that are used regarding hadith. So the books they start to find that a lot of hadith that are da'if, weak, very weak, hadith that are mawdu', that are sometimes used, also misquoted. So something you find hadith are misquoted in these books, so that kind of somewhat led to the Muslim kind of somewhat fall back into this stagnation. And also that ad-dawah, which is the dawah that people also consider the dawah regarding ighlaq al-bab al-ijtihad, where an imam would not reach the status or the level concerning al-ijtihad. So regarding concerning a person's level of academic studies, he would not go beyond a certain level of being an ijtihad, a mujtahid. They said that door is closed. So the person is not allowed to give independent rulings on things. So they can somewhat they add this approach of close the door regarding ijtihad. No one's allowed to say beyond what's already established by the imam of that madhab. And also with this, they mention a dawah concerning that kullu alim mujtahid musib. Kullu alim musib. So anything that is mentioned in the madhahib, that is said you can take it. Anything that is mentioned in the books of the ulama, then it is something because the person is an alim, is a mujtahid, then you can accept it, right or wrong. And this kind of somewhat led to the people, they kind of somewhat led to the people that they start to, as they say, that they kind of somewhat take anything that they found in a madhab because it's recorded in that book. So the people start to accept anything that is mentioned or attributed to an imam or an alim, then they will accept it because it is stated in the book. So you find that the people that are taken, that mention, they start to take concern that they anything where take from this because this imam is very man akhadha rukhas, the one who takes from rukhas al-ulama, the one who takes from the leniency of the ulama, tazandaqa. Then a person fall into close to apostasy. So the person who falls, the person always trying to find out the weak views and accept them and take them, then the person, he can somewhat start to depart from Islam. He start to fade away. His Islam start to fade away. And also said that no, so this thing regarding concern, because it's mentioned in the book, I must accept it, then that code is batil. That is something which is batil, and a view that is, they said no, that because of that, we said stagnation regarding ijtihad and ta'assub towards madhahib became that the standard amongst some of he said no, the people of ilm during that time, and other things regarding at-taqleed, that a person must follow a madhab, and you're not allowed to leave. And they mentioned, I'll read to you a view of some of those views that was prevalent, that was said then. One of them they mentioned that he said, regarding that he says, La yajuz taqleed ma'ada al-arba. And this person we mentioned, Sheikh Ahmed Asawi, he mentioned, La yajuz taqleed ma'ada al-arba. Yani a'immat al-arba. It's not allowed for a person to go beyond making taqleed of their a'immat al-arba, that you're not allowed to go, La wafaq qawl sahaba or hadith sahih wal ayat. فالخارج, even if it goes coincide that view goes in that coincide that of the Sahaba or Hadith or ayah, they mention فالخارج عن المذاهب الأربعة ضال المضل. فالله مستعان. خارج فالخارج عن المذاهب الأربعة ضال المضل. The one who go outside مذاهب الأربعة is ضال المضل. Then they mention ربما أداه ذلك لكفر. And he said even this could lead to the person falling to kufr. فالله مستعان. So the person, so I mentioned that فأن, they mentioned لأن الأخذ ظواهر الكتاب والسنة من أصول الكفر. they mentioned لأن الأخذ بالظواهر الكتاب والسنة من أصول الكفر. And these are the things that these are the statement that is mentioned, and you find that in each method you find that these were the statement was prevalent during that time. So they kind of somewhat showed a Muslim kind of so said went into stagnation and start to fall back because of that jumud upon madhahib. The next of the thing that to be mentioned is regarding concern that now what's the proper concern that because of time that we're going to concern that what concern asbab ikhtilaf al-ulama, yani al-fuqaha. What's the reason at times we might find, and it does occur. It does occur of those of past and of present and still will continue regarding asbab ikhtilaf bayna al-ulama. That they mention various things. So that as for those things that may lead regarding concerning ikhtilaf of the ulama, that in nutshell, in summary, that you might find concerning these asbab that may lead to the khilaf between the ulama, they can put them into two categories. Those things which is ilmiya, we're concerned those things concerned their knowledge base, discussion, genuinely, mu'tabar, and also you have ghayr ilmiya, and things that are not ilmiya. So regarding concerning al-khilaf between the ulama at times may because of mention concerning things that are ilmiya, things that are knowledge based. It have principle base, and thing which is ghayr ilmiya, things that have nothing to do with ilm. Of those things, the second one which is ghayr ilmiya, it may be due to hasad. So you might find that even sometimes between the people of ilm, they may have hasad between themselves. So this person doesn't like this one, so you try to bring him down. And this occurs, and may occur. Also regarding concerning hub al-riyasa wa hub al-mansib, that an alim that he wants to be the one who's of position and status. Nam. So those things are said no, غير العلمية. Nam. Those things are, and also one, إكثار الأتباع. He wants a lot of followings. So those things are not ilmiya. So put those things aside. Nam. Of the things regarding الاختلاف الفقهاء في الأمور العلمية معتبرة, that they mention that these things are the reason why you might find اختلاف. We mention them in general. That one, اختلاف في قراءات. So you might find that sometimes اختلاف قراءات, even the Quran, as we know, Quran are different قراءات. So this sometimes those قراءات can have an impact on the meaning based upon that qira'ah. Clear? So the meaning, so the way that qira'at also what can be derived, it also changed the meaning. They also changed the meaning. Nam. The second, so something you have books just for that. The ikhtilaf al-qira'at, and the meaning that it gradually have books just for that. Nam. You have also regarding second concerning ikhtilaf al-wuju' al-i'rab, regarding concerning how you said, what's the word in i'rab in English? Mythology or what is the syntax or whatever they call those things. Regarding concerning that, so those things also can have impact regarding the meaning that is extracted. So that can also have an impact on that matter. The third, اختلاف في ثبوت النص. Third, اختلاف في ثبوت النص, regarding the text that have reached you. Now, at time that a text may reach a person, and for him it is not authentic. Hadith have reached him, but for him it is not authentic. But for another person it's authentic, so he act upon it. The one who says it's not authentic, that's not something for him to act upon. So at times you might find that exists and still exists today. That you might find that the text may reach, and for one alim and for another, they may not be see eye to eye concerning that hadith being authentic. And this occurs and still occurs today. Also regarding a matter concerning that thabutun nas, for that person might say in the ijma, and now we might say fi ijma. But the person said no. So sometimes might have ijma that is mentioned, but it needs to be verified. So the person who sees it as being valid may act upon it, and a person who believes that is not, then he does not follow this. Also regarding a matter might reach a person that this text, it is something which is fi khususiyya. It is something with a particular Prophet of Islam or to particular people, and not for everyone. So my friends, certain text that may reach us, but that text is fi khususiyya. It is specific to either the Prophet of Islam and no one else. But some people may not see it that way. That for example, quick one, that some of the ulama all concerning having more than 4 wives is not something specific to the Prophet of Islam. But after that qawl is batil. Laysa bi sahih. But some people may have that view. That and also يكون اختلاف في الفهم النص. The next thing regarding فهم النص, how they understand the text. How they understand the text. So you might have certain words, it may have more than one meaning. And depending on which meaning the person take, depending on which outcome they have. Also you might have concern on next matter regarding اختلاف في الطرق الجمع والترجيح. That texts have come which is ta'arud. They seem to be conflicting. How do you resolve this matter? So I'm trying to reconcile those ahadith, all those texts that seem to be clashing. How do you reconcile? Then this also might find that they might come to a different conclusion. Some might see concerning al-jam, some might see it as nasikh wal mansukh, and so you might find those things that come into play. Another thing that come into play concerning that al-ikhtilaf fi ba'd al-masadir al-istinbat. Ikhtilaf fi ba'd al-masadir al-istinbat. Where, as I mentioned, Imam Shafi rahimahullah see Amal al-Madina as a dalil, but majority doesn't see it in that way. Imam Malik, Jazallah Khair, Imam Malik, but others may not see Amal al-Madina as something to act upon. So those things may impact on the person's outcome. So those are some of the things, inshallah ta'ala. With that inshallah we stop. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهذا السبيل والآخر دعوانا الحمد لله آمين. نصلي ثم